especially if there's a lot of fur, you got to give them a break. But
yeah, JoJo gets overstimulated like after 3 seconds, and she starts eating the brush.
Dude, I'm lucky. Frank's a bit of a sadist, so he likes the Ferminator. Here's Rob getting in there. We're actually live, by the way. Say hi to everybody. Live. What? Oh God, I hate the internet. Welcome, Rob. I should do the intro first. This is very important because it's always the first thing I like to say is, welcome to the Art of Rock. First and foremost, I acknowledge the Tongva people as being the traditional landowners of where I am right now, which is Los Angeles, California. This is every Saturday. Here, we fucking come here and complain and gripe about everything. You should join us because it can be quite entertaining. I'm wearing my fucking filthy scum t-shirt from Vulture Culture. I will put a link in the description of that very shortly. Deep diving there Wednesday nights. It's really good. It's become a thing for us. We watch that and get drunk. This is brought to you by Angelspit's Patreon. Please, you can join it for free or $3 a month, or fucking however much you want to pay, and it's great. And I didn't. Oh, Carl, you suck. It's really interesting how much I suck. I was just saying to myself the other day, dude, you suck. Hold on, it's coming. I have to do the magic pimpage. Angelspit's new album is kickstarting, and I'm actually very happy with it. Even at this stage, because you know how you finish an album and you hate it, and you hate yourself, and you hate everything I do. Right? I love you're upside down, but I love that. Hold on, chat, disk, fuck technology. I just don't have the time. There, it's kickstarting. Go get Angelspit's new fucking album. A whole bunch of the things are sold out, which is great. Thank you so much, and thank you everyone who supported that. Jesus Christ, thank you so much. It's dark. Anyway, there's more dark shit. That's the Industrial Incisions playlist. And if you want to be on that and you're a Kickstarter supporter, Patreon supporter, please fucking email me your track. I already mentioned bloody Vulture Culture because he's crazy bastard. If you want non-stop fucking music from the bleeding edge, that's MTV TV. We're rating there after this, and you're going to find some amazing stuff. If you want to get your shit played, they will play you. It is here. Go get it. They've also got a Patreon. Support them because we have to keep them going. And Razi, Jesus, dude, thank you so much for being here.
It's a pleasure.
Look at all Rezi's stuff. Look, there's YouTube, and he gets so many crazy fucking plays, and the Patreon, and he's awesome. Go back, Rezi. And the Bandcamp. Go buy Rezi's shit. Okay. Welcome. And was there something else I was supposed to pimp? I can't remember. Nah, that's it for now. So this is the Art of Rock. Rob, you're going on an adventure. Oh, I can't hear you. I've got a buzz.
Got 60 cycles. That's an addition to the conversation.
Yeah. It's great because we've all been doing like audio for 30 years each, and we're always getting shit like this going on.
That's why we don't test our stuff.
Yeah, why do we have to test shit?
We're just expecting it to work.
Yeah, of course it works. And if it's not, then it's manufacturer incompatibility and incompetence. Right? Is that working there, Rob? No. All right. Tell you what, we're going to get back onto Rob's most epic road trip shortly. Oh, no. There he is.
Check. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you now. It's
all
weird.
Right. I apologise.
You've got a funny accent.
It's Australian.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Hey, I just want to sidetrack for a minute because we're going to talk about your epic road trip. So I was telling a friend of mine the other night about there is this goldmine of music that you haven't discovered called 80s Australian music. And there is so much fucking shit. Like Pseudo Echo, who did Funky Town, also did like 5 albums and they were awesome. And there's the Reels and fucking Ivor Davies, Icehouse. Like, there's so much fucking amazing Australian music. Boxcar, Severed Heads did 1 million albums. So much music. But I recently, and I didn't get into a lot of this shit because, you know, small country town and I hated it and whatever. Just because the people who liked it, I hated them. But I started getting into it and fuck me dead. AC/DC's a really good band. And another good band are the Divinals, and the lead singer tragically passed away about 10 years ago from breast cancer after a long and terrifying battle with alcoholism. And I didn't know Chrissy Amphlett died. Anyway, so they've got a track called Science Fiction, which is off their first album, which they released in 1982. If someone can get me the official video for Science Fiction and drop it in the chat so I can post it onto the thing. It's such, Jen, welcome. It is such a good track. I highly advise you listen to this. So it's called Divinals, Science Fiction, and it's the official video. And you look at them and they're a bunch of badasses on stage. What she is singing, like the musicality and everything, brilliant. Great fucking track. The way she is working with the drummer, amazing. Like they are having a fucking conversation. It's brilliant. And what she is doing with her vocal, with the phrasing, the way she leaves stuff out, she comes in a beat later, she just sings all this random shit. It's so fucking amazing. Because nobody has bothered going onto YouTube to find fucking Science Fiction by the Divinals, I will do that now while everybody is watching. Oh, wow. Hold on. Science Fiction Divinals. Oh, look, thank you so much, Rob. I knew I could count on you, as you are the holy Jedi dude. Great fucking track. So,
I was still trying to spell Divinals, honestly. That was
it's a very cool spelling, as in divine, but vinyl is as in vinyl. Very clever band name. Now I don't know what I'm doing or what year it is, as someone God come down from heaven and save me.
I got distracted by I Touch Myself.
Isn't that a great track?
Yeah.
And that whole first album, fuck, did I do this right? It's amazing and exciting how much I hate my life. Fuck you. Fuck you. There it is. I think that one works. So many weird things in there. I don't understand what's going on. Yeah, that first album is brilliant. And listen to what the drums are doing and how there's a drum fill, but each time it's different. It's really fascinating. And the fascinating thing about Australian music that I'm always trying to tell people is because Australia was such a small country and it had such a small audience that you couldn't just say, oh, this is 80s synth pop, because there wasn't enough people to support 80s synth pop. This is 80s rock. There's not really enough people there to support that. But if you combine them to create this hybridized music, then you're pulling from that market and you're pulling from that market. And I believe because of Ian Molly fucking Meldrum, the Hat, and because of Triple J, as much as I love to hate Triple J, fucking great channel. Because of that, we then got this incredible culture of music in the 90s, like with Regurgitator and Spiderbait and all of these other bands you've never heard of, because Australia was owning it, but you never heard it. Terrifying. Regurgitator. You got to get into Regurgitator. So there you go. And fucking, that fucking New Zealand band with Too Good in it.
You mean Crowded House?
No, they were actually really good. These guys were just good. What were they called? Well, obviously Split Ends was amazing, but She Had.
Oh, yeah.
You know, bands were coming to Australia and they were saying, we will not play with She Had because they will upstage us. The greatest fucking insane performance I've ever seen was this band from New Zealand called She Had. Don't tell anybody that I was actually giving New Zealand kudos just then. Anyway, Rob, if we want to jump in and talk more about fucking
Uncanny X-Men.
the X-Men.
You remember them?
Yeah, I do.
That was the first concert I went to when I was a kid.
Wow.
They're in Melbourne in the
50 years.
MCG.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. And that was the other thing, is that they were playing stadiums. All these fucking bands that you've never heard of. And because of the what was going on and the promotion that the Australian Broadcasting Commission, which was the government based TV, radio, etc., and they had a thing where they had to play 20% of the music they played was Australian. It was by law. Every radio station had to play 20%. And because of that, the industry, it was like a negative tariff. The industry exploded and bands were everywhere. It was so good. Fuck, it was great. I don't know if it's still doing it, no. But I'm seeing all of these incredible Australian bands come out. The Great Australian Bubble. We could keep talking about this, or, Rob, you can tell us about the amazing adventures you're having with the K2000.
Yeah, so it's been sitting in my studio for a little bit too long, and I've started to pack up my studio and put it into storage because I'm repainting the house to get it ready for sale. And somebody this week on a live stream suggested that Vulture Culture review the K2000. That would be cool. And so I'm going to do a road trip either this afternoon or tomorrow. I'm going to run the K2000 and a whole set of voice crystal discs. I think there's like 3,000 sounds in the voice crystal floppy disk set. Plus the user manuals, and if I can find the original discs, I will. But it's already preloaded with the firmware and the analog synth patches already. So that's going down to Alex down the east coast of Florida this weekend, and I assume that he's probably going to spend a week or two playing with it, and he's going to be hitting up Carl for direction before he does a legendary synth review. So make sure you stay tuned to watch his legendary synth episode with the amazing K2000 from Kurzweil.
And I think this could very easily turn into a K2000 session. Like, you know, I also put a link to a Regurgitator song there called Super Straight. And that was towards the end of their career. Oh my God, they suspended themselves in a Perspex box over the busiest street in Melbourne for like a month. In live TV, stream 24/7 to record an album in a Perspex box while dangling over fucking Melbourne streets. So this really interesting, Alex, welcome. Interesting thing about the K2000 is if you were going to do like a Vulture Culture X kind of esque thing, a review of the Kurzweil, where the fuck would you start? Where do you start?
Well, I think he's going to go through all of the default patches, and he's not going to get the normal default patches. He's going to get the good default patches, which is all the analog stuff. And then he's going to have to deep dive into the parameters and the modulations, because that's really where the heart of that keyboard is. The chipset that was legendary, you know, the transition from the industries, that's going to be where he needs to bury himself. And hopefully it resonates well with over the internet and live streaming, because there's something to be said about plugging a synth into an amplifier and feeling all of those different harmonics vibrate through your body. And it's very difficult to replicate that on a live stream. You do a good job with the Moog 1 and stuff like that, but I'm not sure how it's going to translate unless he has it set up really well. So we'll see.
And that's another thing about the K2000. And I'm seeing Brett's eyeing out getting one off Reverb. And Rob, you told me there's one for $200 or something. Oh, I'm seeing him on Craigslist for $300, which I think is fucking disgraceful.
Yeah, it's gone. It was there yesterday for about 5 minutes,
and now it's gone.
And the only one I looked for again, I saw for $350, which is still a steal, right?
Oh yeah, I think anything under $1,000, like they're $500. You can't. Mine's $500, and I can't sell it. And hold on, Raziel, I'll get to you in a second. If you were going to do the K2000 and talk about it, it's like, where do you fucking start? Because there are, and Alex mentioned VAST, which is the variable audio synthesis technology, I think, architecture, something, various architecture synth technology. I don't know what it fucking stands for. But what I do know is that there was a great band in the 90s called VAST, and they used a bunch of K2000, and I think they named themselves after the K2000. I'm not fucking sure. Are you going to say, this is the sound of the Downward Spiral, this is the sound of Celine Dion, this is the sound of every fucking R&B song that came out in the 90s, this is the sound of industrial music? What? Then are you going to be looking at the devastating low pass filter on the K2000, which is still unmatched. Like that in the algorithm. So the way it's set up, there's like 34 algorithms or something, and each algorithm is a different box where there's something in it. It might be a high pass, a low pass, a band pass, a fucking shapeshifter, a morpher, all of this fucking batty shit that you smash together and hope for the best. But the first one, it's this really intense low pass filter that you can distort, and the because of the headroom and the architecture and everything else within the K2000, it's the most insane fucking bass, like the most craziest fucking bass I've ever heard, and it's all digital. It's got a game of Pong in it. And then you get into all of these like
it's
madness.
It's the like all the modulation sources that can be assigned to the filter, the filter settings and parameters, which just makes it crazy. It's kind of unlimited in that regard. It's unmatched.
Did you have any form of software or anything to interact with it, or were you just going chicky chicky chicky?
I use no software whatsoever.
Yeah, I
had the rack as well.
Yeah. I think there was a breakout thing where you could talk to the K2000 via SMIDI. You could be changing parameters and stuff on the screen and drawing envelopes more. But you get to draw envelopes, but apparently it was a bit bigger because your reasons. I'm going to throw this. Actually, I'm going to throw it to Rezi first because Rezi doesn't put the hand of the resonator up. And then I'm going to throw it to Ivan. Rezi, tell me your thoughts.
Sometimes I put the hand up.
I like it when you don't.
Okay. I'll keep that in mind. Let that influence my behavior going forward. I never found the magic with the K2000. I found a lot of cool things that it did. I never owned one. It was in the band. The keyboardist owned one, but I didn't. So it was in the studio a lot. Had some time with it. But what I wanted to sort of maybe bring it around to as a question, we're talking about the scope of this thing and how it's got a lot of different algorithms, and it's, you can distort it and do these things. And there's a lot of little quirks that it has that I thought were the cool part. The analog gap that was built into it between the tone generator and the effects section was a great place to cause distortion. It was, neat things like that. But what, as owners of this thing, was maybe like the last fantastic thing that you thought, I'm going to reach for the K2000, and it made it onto the record and it actually came out? What's the actual like inspired moment that you had with this thing other than, it does everything?
I can answer that, or I can let one of you guys answer that.
I think it's just the unique sound of it. And
one
I know
thing.
I think, yeah, the
one thing
sound.
in a synthesizer, unique sound. Synthesizer, unique sound.
Yeah.
And it makes Pong. How many of your fucking synthesizers can you play Pong on? Can you play Pong on your fancy schmancy fucking Yamaha? No.
I'm gonna guess.
Load a modem program into it and use it as the TX16W has like a good, like you can use it as an analog modem.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna guess that Ivan's gonna talk about the Hydrasynth, because I honestly believe that the Hydrasynth is the reinvention of the Kurzweil K2000 for many reasons. Yeah. So
I'm just going to jump back in that the funny thing about the K2 is you can sit down and you can just go. And you're not, like I saw Alex's thing on the steam pipe. Then I ended up getting a steam pipe, but I dragged the K2000 out because there's stuff you can do on the K2000 that I don't know of any other synthesizer that you can do it to the level of unpleasantness that you can reach on a Kurzweil. Like you can make super shiny, beautiful belly sounds, partly by using built-in, romplers, or you can be generating stuff using the chaos and the anarchy. But then you can take that to this really massive degree of mayhem. And then you can be using that synthesis on a drum loop or on your voice or on all of this other stuff, where I don't know how many other synthesizers you can actually go, I'm going to take this galaxy of synthesis possibilities and apply it to this thing, apply it to a sample. And the thing I love about it is that you could do, I've got a disc here, which is the analog disc. And it's so good. It is so fucking good. And I remember playing that thing and then playing the Jupiter 8s going, this is as good as the Jupiter 8. And these are created with sawtooth samples, romplers of sawtooths and squares and all that shit, then run through the actual filters of the synth itself. And like you said, in that gap between the effects and the DAC, the digital converter, there is room for really good distortion, and it's actually got distortion as a algorithm, and it's pretty fucking good. The thing about the K2000 and the 2500 that I always go back to is because as Kurzweil went on in time, they became more gentle, soft, corporate, nice, tame, where the versatility of the Kurzweil of the K2000 is fucking mind-blowing. And that's the thing, is that you're not just high pass, low pass. That's where we're starting. Then we're going to go into all of these other shapers and sawtooth modulators and all of this whack shit that you can also be massively controlling with MIDI and da-da-da-da-da to create something really wild.
Did you find yourself using it more as the raw waveforms like sawtooth, square wave, triangle wave, and building synthesizer style stuff, or as a traditional sampler and building out multi-sampled patches of other things and processing?
Because one thing I would end up doing is I've got this sample that I always go back to that I took fucking 10 years ago, which is every oscillator, analog oscillator firing off on an E. And it's a multi-point sample, and it's this great big fat enormous thing. And I will build on top of that. So I'll have something fat and enormous, then I'll throw something else fat and enormous. And the great thing about it is because it's thanks Rob, because it's a great big fat analog piece of craziness, sample, which has got like stuff that's out of tune. Therefore, when it's applying sawtooth modulation and all of this other weird shit to it, it's starting to do all of this weird shit. It's just fucking dope. Still is, and I've owned one since 1996, I think. And I still listen to it and go, oh, this is, and after all this time, the further up, each of the algorithms are numbered, and the further you go up, the more crazy they get. And I've really only made it up to like 13 or 14. And one of my New Year's resolutions, like last year, was push past 14. And early Angelspit is basically K2000 and modular. That's it. And the sample chip on mine's busted. I've never had not the sample, the effects. Yes,
effects, the DSP. Are there any limitations on what you've put into the loaded into the oscillators? Like if it's one of your user samples or one of the built-in ones, do you get the same algorithms no matter what, or does it rely on
same algorithms no matter what? There's a couple of weird little things, like there's 3 layers that you can split the keyboard or layer them or whatever. You can have a key map to say every single sound's got a different sound on it, but if they're all in the same layer, they're all going to have the same thing, synthesis vast applied to them. Whereas with the Emacs, you can say on every single key, it will be a different sound, and they're going to have different treatments of filters and stuff. So in that way, it's limited, but there's workarounds with drum channels and this shit where I think there's like 32 or something different fuckerages you can do. And you'll listen to the K2000 and you go, oh wow, that's Nine Inch Nails drums. He just used the Castle drums off the fucking K2000. And it's just dope. I'm going to throw to Mr. Ivan.
So yeah, I mean, it looks like software editors are the only choice. There's no physical plugin editor for it. Quick web search. I am pretty sure that there will come a time further down the road when people talk about the Hydra with the same level of like just gushy love, because the like depth of configurability for the Hydra is at least as good. Not sure if it's necessarily, I mean, it is an extremely deep synth. And it's one of the nice things about the K2000. Plus, it does it's got that nice K2000 kind of roughy sort of sound to it. Which might have been that, back in the days, the bit rate was lower than it is today. So like it tried to be perfect, but like the technology was only going to get it so far. Which is actually cool. Because like that's actually a fairly difficult thing to do these days. What was my last bit? Yeah, no, I think we've got a K2000 available down at the practice space. We just haven't actually plugged it in because we're gonna really have time to write for it, and then expect to use it every time. In the meantime, like the Hydrosynth is so bulky that it's only ever going to exist as like a recorded backing track for a song, just because I'm not hauling that. I'm too old to haul that thing around.
So you don't have the desktop version, Ivan?
No, I've got the deluxe.
Oh wow, yeah.
Which is
So just to be clear, like the Vasta's got about 30 odd algorithms in it, and Hydrosynth's got 255 algorithms. Is that right?
Yes. And
What
that's actually like one of the things that's kind of a pain in the ass with the Hydrosynth is because its memory is so freaking large. Finding the patch you're looking for in the little menu scrolly is a massive pain in the ass because it takes forever.
Okay.
And you can't just like key in a search because that's not an option. It doesn't work or doesn't exist. But the Hydrosynth is capable of like roughly that level of richness to its sounds. And it's definitely different, but like the level of like configurability is it's pretty much there. And it is a super fun synth to play with. I mean, it is just groovy fun. And K2000 also groovy fun. And speaking of Alex and his show, I occasionally toy with the idea of trying to figure out a way to get my my Russian synth down into his hands, but that would be a giant pain in the ass because it's also massively heavy and kind of a studio queen. It likes to sit in the studio, and having anything get damaged on it would be dangerous.
Okay. One other thing the K2000 has is funds. and fun stands for functions. And they are where you can, and I'm reading now, you can take two control sources, such as an LFO, envelope, MIDI controller, or whatever, or another fun, and you can apply an equation to them. And that equation could be A plus B equals output, A squared plus B, A squared minus B, A squared minus B squared, A squared plus B squared, the square root of A and B. All of this fucking shit. A diode, blah, 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 blah. I never really used funds. There are sounds that I've heard that use funds, and these great big huge expressive things where they go for days because these two things are modulating things, and as the modulation changes and blah blah blah, it won't come back to where it started for like literally a day. So does the it's just really interesting. And it's great that the Hydrosynth sounds like it's this very amazing synth. I think that if you are looking for a synthesizer and you cannot afford a Hydrosynth, the criminally low price that K2000s are going for right now, and please remember, they're built like fucking tanks. They will probably be around forever because they're still going. My screen's going out, but all I have to do is replace the screen, and they cost about $100. They are remarkable sound, and you turn that, like I have to stop using it because it's like, it's one of those synths where it's like, fuck, now it's everywhere. And I go through these phases of K2000s where it's like, I just can't anymore because.
And bonus, now is the time to buy a K2000 if you're looking for one, because as soon as it appears on Vulture Culture, it's going to go up in price.
Yeah. And I think that's good because I think they're worth $1,000. I keep seeing people, and if you jump on the K2000 forums on like Facebook or whatever, like people are going, I just bought one and I think I've found my enlightenment. They're just brilliant. Okay. This conversation seems to be going well. Does anybody else want to jump in at this point? Or we could talk about something different. I love those tumbleweeds.
Does it have a SCSI port in the back?
Yeah.
Bonus.
Yeah.
I think
It's
the
it's got the
advantage
little
of only being able to load kind of comparatively small finite sets of patches, compared to the Hydrosynth, is it makes organizing them actually kind of easier because you have to go to the place where it is, and then there it is, instead of the Hydrosynth where, geez, this one starts with the letter L, so I've got to scroll all the way down to the L's and then dig through that, and there might be a lot of them in there, and like the sub arranging of patches in the list, like doing a vague filter on it, like, oh, give me the drum sounds. I mean, that only works so far.
It's very interesting. The way I use them is that I will have, so it'll load in a bank, and a bank's 100 sounds, and you'll load it into 200, 300, 400, all the way up to 900, because it only goes up to 999. And when I'm working on a song, it will be a bank. And I will save all samples and all everything into that bank, and then each time pull it into that bank storage number. It's just really interesting how it's just an interesting way that I work on that thing, because it's it doesn't retain samples. It'll keep all the romplers in it, but if I've got samples of drum loops or fucking whatever, booyah. And that's another great thing, is that you can put high pass filters into everything, and believe me, samples need high pass filters, because when you're playing them down low, you don't want anything below blah 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 frequency. You want to get rid of that shit. It's really interesting, like as you guys were talking, I was thinking how there are sounds on there that have not aged well. And it's a really interesting thing where, is it not aged well because I'm so used to hearing that sound, or is it not aged well because, like, what does that mean? Like, why has it not aged well? Like, what what is the higher reason in my mind that it hasn't aged well? Razi, talk to me.
The demos on that page you linked are all like super general MIDI, new jack swing, like cheesy samples. It doesn't do the thing justice in any way. These are not show off how the engine can be subversive and mean. It's listen to these pristine, small, tiny one-shot recordings of the arco bow of a violin being played over and over. Not expressive. You have to really want it to do something that doesn't, sound like a piece of plastic being clicked repeatedly versus, a huge sheet of metal being struck with different size mallets. I mean, there's a big gulf between that, and that's where the human factor comes in, where you got to really program it and do this creative stuff that you're talking about, which is why I was sort of wondering what a thing is that you did with it. And this ties back to the zeitgeisty, what synths could do at the time. My version of a workstation, which you could put samples into and had drums and a couple of algorithms, was the PV-DPM3, which is even worse in this regard. Like, you couldn't really do much to get a pair of oscillators to interact with each other. You could play them both. You could put a short sample of a attack in one oscillator player and a long sustained loop of a square wave in the other and make them sound and then build layers that way. But that's a really limiting sample playback, MT32, general MIDI, Rompler criticism, is that they tend to sound like that. So pushing beyond that was something that, like, you needed some amount of creativity and ingenuity and understanding of how the machine worked. Otherwise, what you'd get was, all right, let's hit the play button demo, and it's going, it's like, my teeth.
It's funny. I absolutely agree with what you say, because some of the demos I heard for the K2000 are fucking awful. Like, they are MT32 quality. The thing about it is that you could say, all right, well, I'm going to put a high pass filter on this sound, this bashing of a piece of metal, so that when I tap it, the quieter the velocity, the higher that high pass is. So it's going to be basically a harmonic if I'm just tapping it. But the harder I hit it, that's going to start coming in. It's going to start dropping that cutoff frequency. So if I slam it, it's going to play the full range instead of cutting off all those beautiful lows. Another thing I will be doing is, the harder I hit it, the more distortion is going to come into it. So it will increase the amount of distortion. And as it increases the amount of distortion, I'm actually going to wind the volume back so the volume isn't getting out of control. Another thing I might be doing is having two sounds. It's a stereo sound, but it's quiet, it's pan center, and the harder I play it, the more I'm going to open the field. Then I might get one of these what's called a shaper algorithm, and set that up in such a way that I'm going to be hitting a harmonic, that the harder I hit it, the louder and more pronounced that harmonic's going to be. There's that sort of stuff that you can do on a lot of synths, but not all synths have shaping.
And these are the things that separate it from the predecessors of an S1000 or an S900, like I was working with at the time. You play back the sample, and maybe you pitch it, and maybe you do a filter on it, and you could do a couple of other things, but everything was outboard downstream. You couldn't do things that made the oscillators or sample playback modules interact in a way, or perform that algebra that we were talking about earlier between two oscillators. And
and that's what really stood out. The Kurzweil was 48. It had a fixed output of 48, and it was 16-bit. I thought it was 18-bit. No, it's 16-bit samples. I think the outputs or the FX or something are 18-bit.
But that's a synthesis engine, and the algorithms are truly, they give you something more than what you put in. If you put in two waveforms, you can get an unrecognizable result, whereas S550s, the class of samplers that I was used to seeing at that time weren't synth engine samplers so much, and this thing was. It really made a difference there.
And well, the K2000 started as a synthesizer, and then it went to sampling. And that's what's fascinating, is that at the time it was up against Emulator 3s, Emax 2s, and the S series, and the ASR 10s. they could not fucking compare. As much as ASR 10 users will say something different to that, you can't fucking compare. I think on the Emacs there's a thing, correct me if I'm wrong, where you can assign the sample to start at a different place depending on the velocity, depending on whatever you want.
Sample playback position.
Yeah, which is really good because if you tap it lightly, you can start it in a little bit where it's not as crazy. But if you hit it at the beginning, it's right at the beginning of the thumb. I know the ASR 10 does that, or can do that. But yeah, it was revolutionary for the time, and I think it's still revolutionary. I personally still go back to it and just go, nothing else does this in my understanding, and to the length of the brutality of it. That's the thing about the Kurzweil, is that the chip on it and the processing power is crap. It's 1990s. Whereas these modern synths have beautiful anti-aliasing and everything else. With the Kurzweil, you know, sometimes you can hear it screaming out in pain, going, okay, whoa, stop. Rob just sent an example of the K2000. And I'm going to...
Do you think that it had...
That's probably the best example I can find, Razi, of non-mainstream safe MIDI patches like was on that website.
Cool.
Oh, God, go away, computers.
The thing that was coming to mind is that maybe what they were going after was a 10 times less expensive synclavier kind of thing, where people did god tier synthesis on what was, I mean, you know what? I don't know enough about, I was never in a room with a synclavier anyway, so I guess I'm talking out of school on that front, but it was more algorithmic and sampleoid and had, you know, you could produce FM stuff, but it was digital, New England digital, in fact. I don't know. It's an interesting time period that we're talking about, where things were changing so rapidly and different engines at different price points were becoming available for people to abuse.
And I'll also, oh, that's a great, this is fantastic. The thing you sent is fantastic, by the way, Rob. It's so 90s. That's breakbeats, man. Yes. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's really interesting. It's really, really fucking interesting. Like when I did my thing on the K2000, I had so many people going, I'm pulling my K2000 out of storage and I'm going to fuck with it again. Because it's just, I don't know. It's really fascinating. And then that then flips around to the other synths that you find fascinating and inspire music. Because personally, this is an issue that I'm having a lot of trouble with right now, is I'm really struggling with are we okay for Carl to go on one of Carl's dark rants, or do we want to keep, okay, great. Everyone goes,
yeah. That was on my list, actually. You asked earlier.
Carl's
That's right there, Carl, dark rant, yeah.
It's very interesting that, I watched this very interesting thing recently about why everybody's bored and why I am bored, why you are bored, and what social media and overstimulation of everything is doing to your boredom glands, and everything has become boring. And of course, as an artist, you go, oh no, everyone's bored. But the thing I am concerned about is that, oh no, I am bored. And any ideas that I was ranting to Rob for hours about this last night. Thank you again for your time, Rob. About how that voice in my head that is constantly editing me, going, oh no, that's crap, don't do it. Now it's just snoozing, it's yawning. And it's interesting that I think the ideas that I am coming up with are strong as they've ever been, as good as they've ever been, but something's changed inside my head. Something has changed that in that negative voice. It's as if the negative voice has just given up. And that's the only way I can really describe it. Like, you know, last night, one of my very good friends emailed me a thing going, oh, Timberland's just fucking released an AI thing and blah, blah, blah. And I was initially, I don't care. But then that kind of added to the pool of despair and boredom. And it's, I don't know, I'm just in this very fascinating place. And the thing I do love, bringing it back to the K2000, is that It's because the K2000 is imbued with a time of nostalgia for me, not only what I was listening to, but the joy, excitement, and the wild frontier of sonic landscape and possibility. It is a real thing for me. It's still such an exciting thing for me. And yeah, please, Rosie, what do you think?
I'm feeling that really acutely too, and it crossed my mind maybe 3 days ago, 4 days ago, what the gulf between true naive discovery of everything that's being set in front of us, like every single expensive, inexpensive, unattainable, obtainable piece of gear, piece of musical technique, piece of physical ability on our musical instruments for, for some period of time is all new, and you've got the novelty and you've got this expanding gulf of possibilities. And that doesn't narrow, but it becomes necessarily, I mean, it might for some people, but for me, it hasn't narrowed, but it has become much more difficult to attain next level things when I'm a lazy, fucking distractible, low energy motherfucker without, like a lot of ambition and drive. It's like, yeah, well, I mean, I could learn to do that thing that a person is doing on their YouTube video, but that'll probably take a long time and it looks really difficult, and fuck it, they already did it. And I fall back on the 7 things that I already learned on guitar or about synthesizers or about recording in the past 20 years, which I don't know if there's a way to push through that people found reliable, but it's definitely, I think, Carl, relating to what you're talking about, in it does manifest in, for me, there's a really good 2-hour ASMR video of fixing a synth. It's easier to watch that, and I get to coast through an emotional free block of time, or an emotion free block of time, one might say, to, watch that video instead of making my own, instead of experiencing my own. Like I know what he's going to do. I know he's going to like recap the fucking, filter board, and I know he's going to use desoldering wick, but now it's happening. Now I can hear the recording they did. It's a strange phenomenon where I definitely have gone through phases where, oh my God, I'm going to just turn on a camera and do that myself, versus, yeah, there's a lot of kids doing this stuff. It's really good, and I already did it, and it's going to be hard to do something next level that gives me the same charge of discovery, learning, and attaining mastery rather than falling back on mastery.
Yeah, you just said a lot of really important things. Thank you. Ivan, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I wonder if like as humans, as we age, we accumulate a lot of experience, and then old experiences end up looking boring because we're already used to it. This is one of my, one of the reasons that like I live by a hard rule that like only ever encourage, like that kind of fresh enthusiasm that kids have when they're having it. Like you can guide it a little, but keep that enthusiasm going, because like, growing up, we by and large did not get that encouragement, you know, and like that caused us going down dark alleys to often find, they were dead ends. Um, and I think that is that's not good. That's not good for being a human. It doesn't help. Whereas, kind of encouraging that kind of, behavior, which, as you get older, like it does get a little, overwhelming. Um, it's on us to deal with that. So, we can deal because we're adults. But like, want to push that next generation to be enthusiastic, try crazy shit, do crazy shit. Because that's where the magic is found. And like earlier today, I was watching the latest broadcast from Park Ave Synagogue in New York, and it was a bar mitzvah and a bat mitzvah for 2 14-year-olds. And the whole time I was just like, wow, I remember what it was like being 14. It was so great. Everything was so exciting because everything was still so new. And like we need to kind of reaccomplish finding that flavor of newness so that we can be excited as well. And like the good thing is I just had a truly massive quantity of B12 yesterday. And like I can actually feel like my brain, like those connections reinvigorating, and it's pretty exciting right now. I'm gonna try to keep this excitement going. I'm getting my energy back, which is fucking amazing because I thought that was gone forever. Uh, that's gonna be good all the way down the road. I mean, I was actually working on a song last night, and like actually like recording parts. Like I haven't done that in ages. Uh, and I'd forgotten just how fucking good it feels while it's happening. As you reach that point where like things are clicking so well that like you feel kind of like I don't know, like you're floating above it and watching how great it is. I don't know how to describe it. Like there's a feeling of freedom involved. Um, and like I don't think there's any of us that can't reaccomplish, you know, finding that place in our own brains. But we do have to argue with our own brains a little bit along the way. But we should be ready to have those arguments, and we should try really hard to win them.
Yeah, thank you. It's interesting that I think rage and frustration become exhausting, and they become exhausting on a deeply spiritual level. And I, I think I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say all people are going to spend their life figuring out how to tame and utilize rage and frustration. I heard a wonderful thing that was recently saying that frustration is it's a side effect of learning. That if you're learning, because learning isn't a straight line from I don't know to I know. It's not a straight. It's this crazy fucking messy. I don't know whether popping around in the dark, bumping into things and falling over, and then getting back up in the wrong direction, blah, 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 and then finally you figure it out. Fuck around and find out. The other F to fuck around and find out is frustration, and that's an important thing to remember. And I'm trying to like sort of celebrate when I feel frustrated. That this is a good thing, because it's very taxing and it's very draining, and I am aware that these things wear you down as a human being as you get older. Almost as if it's releasing a poison. Every time you get like fucking hell-bent red rage or rancor, as it's actually called, thanks Star Wars, Jedi, and frustration, when you encounter these things, you drop this little drop of poison into your system. And the poison takes longer to figure out and to get out of your system than the rage does. And the problem is if you don't get that shit out, it's going to build up. And it's going to build up in the form of apathy, in the form of despair, in the form of hopelessness, in the form of all of these things. And we are lucky because we have music, and music is a great way to exercise that shit. Exercise is a great way to exercise that shit as well. Talking to people or talking to yourself. Make a recording. You know when you go on those rants when you're so fucking angry? Record yourself and then play it back. And it's a great thing because, and you only need to do it a couple of times a year, because you go, wow, I'm hearing my mind just go off into this tangent of like supreme darkness. Great moment to write lyrics, by the way. But you kind of take a step back and you go, a lot of this is fear talking, it's despair talking, it's too much coffee talking, it's exhaustion talking, it's all of these poisonous negativities talking. But it's good to hear it. It's good to get it out and hear it. Because, you don't always want to dump that shit on your cat or your significant other or your work colleagues or whatever. But it's very important to get that out, because if you don't, you're just building up the poison inside yourself. excuse me, make music. Razi, talk to me and take over for a sec because I got to deal with Frank.
Sure. Hopefully you'll come back to also answer this since we're touching on things that you initially brought up on this thread, and that's like sort of the value of boredom pop commentary that's been going around. And I haven't heard a convincing explanation of it that I stuck with. Like I keep forgetting what everybody's talking about with this. Like it's important to be bored. It's important to let yourself not have anything to do and preoccupy yourself with things. But I also came up for the first 50 years of existence thinking that it was anathema. To be bored means that you're uncreative. If you can experience boredom, that means you're not fulfilling your internal mandate to do something, to create. And this is like, it strikes me as more of a feely, like Malcolm Gladwell meme than a Cory Doctorow, like do something, be angry, get active kind of idea, if I had to characterize it. So the question that maybe I'm formulating is like, have you put into action what this allow yourself to be bored really means? Because I think it already, like there was an established other ways of achieving this same goal, or maybe it was known by other names before people started referring to it as allow yourself to be bored. Ivan, did you want to jump in on that before Rob does?
Yeah, I mean like boredom can and probably should be like used as a tool. Like because like for me at least, boredom will often turn into bizarre action. Like I'm bored. I'm gonna try some crazy shit and see what happens. I'm gonna essentially play with some ideas.
What does allow yourself to become bored mean? I think that's the way I've heard it distilled. Allow yourself the space to become bored. Like how does that, how do you do that? What do you do and realize and move on from? How does that work for you specifically?
That usually jumps me in my from a blind corner. I mean, I didn't know I was going to be bored, but now I'm bored.
All right, yeah.
That will happen, but like at the same time, like, and this is probably because of being of that generation that was not raised to deal with boredom. We totally take the opportunity when I am experiencing boredom to either let my mind drift and just come up with crazy ideas, or I will just find a way to use my hands and do something that is driven mostly by that same like urge to just try crazy shit. As a system administrator and software guy, there've been plenty of opportunities in my over the course of my career where I was in fact sitting around at work and suddenly like things were just running too smooth and got a little boring, and that would drive me to then like, hey, what if we write something that does this so that this can't happen again? And solve deeper problems. And like the creative juices, they will bubble right up when you start approaching things from a problem solving and or
All
trying
right.
crazy shit, resulting in problems that then need to be solved.
Here's two things that come to mind before I throw it back to Carl and Rob for an answer. It sounds a little bit like what we heard in the 70s is stop sitting in front of the TV. It's going to rot your mind. You're being distracted doing that. Do something else other than what that is, because it's I think a hot media in that parlance, hot versus cold, where it's taking all of the interaction, it's doing all the work. You're not participating.
They suck up all the attention in the room.
Yeah. So maybe those are the things that we're replacing quote boredom with. And the second thing is, I think boredom is a really distractingly imprecise word for what we're talking about. It's
Yes.
having your attention drawn to something else instead of sitting with your own thoughts for a moment and deciding which way to go. You're being taken in a current, perhaps. Just throwing this out there is maybe what we actually mean by allow yourself to be bored, because I'm still drilling on exactly what that means to anybody. So
Yeah, and the idea of boredom is like it's a little loosey goosey. And shout out to 2008 Boston. Learned the most important lesson in life ever that year, which is in the end, like all the good things are just outside your comfort zone, and sometimes people sit inside their zone despite quote unquote boredom. When they could exit their just get outside the comfort zone just a little bit, and all of a sudden things are exciting again, which is a gift unto itself. It's a great thing, because you end up seeing the world in a different way and appreciating it more, and also having some fun and or potential fun and or like terror equals fun.
I like that.
I'm scared as
There's
hell.
a
Wow, but this is
new
fun.
T-shirt or hat.
Uh,
Can we throw it to Rob before Carl you come back?
Absolutely.
Is that cool? Because I know he put his hand up right at the end of that question too. So I'm interested in what you have to say.
This is a fascinating topic, Razi, because I struggle with boredom. And what I mean by that is I find myself never being bored, which is at odds with my wife, who is almost always bored, and she tells me so. So when I define boredom, I'd say that to me it's an absence of mental stimulation that would otherwise keep my mind occupied. So and I spend a lot of time in hotels and on airplanes for 10, 12, 14 hours, and I've already seen all the movies on the screen. So I have to preload my tablet and my phone with Audible stories and music videos and podcasts and notebooks. So I'm always typing ideas. And if I listen to something for more than about 5 minutes, I find myself note taking. And so the stimulation of my mind causes my brain synapses to fire in different parts of my brain that may have been dormant for some time. And a new idea is translated to text. And I think that helps me write my autobiography, which I would write maybe 1 hour for every long distance flight till I run out of ideas or inspiration. And then when I watch a movie or listen to a song, it will create thoughts that I want to jot down. And I'm a compulsive note taker for anything and everything. It could be something about at home, or something I want to do when I land, or something I want to do when I get back to the studio, or something I want to do in a game engine or something like that. And to me, boredom is an anomaly because I've become an expert of not having silent moments. And I think your point, your antithesis is that boredom may be the instigator for creation as well,
Well said.
depending on how you approach it. So if you're methodical with meditation, maybe there is some illumination that can happen in the absence of thought. Or maybe there is an emotion that you want to pay attention to. So not everything is about logic and thinking. It's about feeling. So I don't
That
know.
follows on from what I was thinking beautifully. Thank you. In that perhaps some of us regard boredom as a liminal moment of decision of what to do next. and it can be alleviated either by an activating creative work or perhaps by getting engaged in something that's more passive, but that it doesn't stick as a search or a state or a perpetual feeling. Yeah, that's calling it meditation and self-introspection and sitting with your feelings, I think is a little, I can start understanding what people are getting at. Carl, did you want to jump in on this one?
Thank you.
Back to you.
Okay, so, and thanks for covering me. Okay, so yeah, one of my notes that I took is boredom the same as meditation? Is one person's boredom another person's meditation? And that's an interesting thing that when I talk to people who are all about the importance of being bored, because there is a claim that boredom is helping your mind defrag and put ideas in place and take a chill. For example, people who have had brain trauma issues, they have to get bored. They can't be stimulated. They need boredom. They're told to be bored. Don't watch Star Trek, or if it is Star Trek, something that you've watched 1,000 times that isn't going to spark, because you can't do that. Your brain's just got to shut the fuck up and heal. Is boredom the same as meditation? I don't know, said the guy who can't meditate and has problem with boredom, because I was brought up that boredom is bad and bad is lazy. And that's so interesting that, and I think a lot of people have been brought up with that, oh, don't be bored, you're lazy. And like, boredom is great in the right qualities, in the right quantities. And the desperate need for stimulation. And that's what I'm questioning, is desperate need. Because, you know, your brain is just looking for something to get addicted to. Thought, process, meaning. I am trying to get into the habit. When I was in uni, with enlightened students who went off and did meditation and then had to come back and rub your face in it that they were enlightened and you weren't. And they would talk about staring at a wall. And I'm going to say that in my most patronizing New Age voice I possibly can. It's really great that all of us know what the New Age is and know how much we hate it.
Oh, that's cool, but can you levitate?
No, yes, I can. I can levitate. I assume you cannot. Staring at a wall is an important thing. Because, and you just basically sit in a chair or in a position where you can't fall asleep, because that's the thing, meditation, boredom, sleep. And you stare at a wall, you stare at a blank wall, and you are noticing that your brain is going, why the fuck are you staring at a wall? What the fuck are you doing? Oh my God, freaking out, like you're staring at a wall, I should be doing something. I should be busy so that when my friends ask me, what are you doing? I can say, I'm busy. Not, I've been staring at walls. Having these profound moments of understanding because I'm staring at a wall. I am entertaining boredom because, like, that's risky. You want to be punk rock in this age? I'm experimenting in boredom. Like, that's the death drug that no one wants to fuck with because that's just so bad. But I believe there's something there when your brain can just shut the fuck up and deal with all of this stuff and maybe actually put your phone and everything next door so you can't get distracted from the very important task of staring at a fucking wall. But maybe record yourself and maybe listen to the bursts of madness. Have you ever done this, or is it just me? To actually record myself as I walk around the house, blurts of conversation come out. And I think Frank doesn't give a fuck anymore, going, he's just being a monk. This is what apes do. They walk around being busy, staring at that screen, going like this for hours, and then they yell at themselves. What the fuck? Frank is a really wonderful mirror of enlightenment, because I just look at myself through his eyes going, what the fuck? And we're the dominant species on this planet? Man, I'm concerned. Or we think we are, at least. Man, I was thinking we would fix all the problems in the United States. Hey, YouTube algorithm, fuck yourself. We could fix all the problems in the USA if everybody took MDMA. This weekend, everyone's taking MDMA, and you're going to sit down with someone who you passionately disagree with, and MDMA is going to make you guys fucking find something about yourselves that you fucking love. Great. The weekend after that, we're all taking a fuckload of LSD. That's right, kids. We're going to take lots of LSD because LSD is going to help you fucking sort shit out. Oh, yes. Yes,
I'm in.
Yeah, it will.
I'm already there.
It will. Because that's what LSD does. It makes you see solutions. Fuck you, algorithm. Look at what I'm talking about. Fuck you. Of course they don't want you thinking about this because they want you to be fucking angry and enraged and doom scrolling and doing nothing about it and feeling powerless. Then the weekend after that, we're going to take mushrooms. We're taking psilocybin mushrooms, and everybody's getting their firmware updated to 2.0. And in a month, we're all going to look back at this going, wow, that was fucking dumb. Bam. Anyway, because that's why drugs are illegal, because they make you think. Oops. And so is staring at a wall. Society doesn't want you staring at a wall and experimenting with boredom, because you might start thinking about things. You might calm your mind so you can actually reflect. And that's there is boredom bad, for sure, like with anything, too much of a good thing, whatever. But there's something in this. There's something in this for me that is just calming the ever non-stop doom, gloom, and insanity that is rolling out everywhere through the internet. And you can go, I don't watch social media and I'm not engaged and I don't care. But every single person around you sure as fuck is. And they are dumping their craziness on you, and your neighbors are, and everybody is dumping crazy. And they're going, here's my crazy, thanks. Let's all swap crazy. So now we're fucking crazy. Am I allowed to say crazy? Fuck you, I just did. Go,
But
Raziel.
that's why you select a subculture and don't tune into that crap. You're poisoning yourself and absolutely wrecking your day if you're tuned into
But
quote
everybody
unquote.
in the subculture, it doesn't matter what subculture or where you are now, unless you were up on a mountain without a phone and without social media input, everyone is getting poisoned.
Yeah, fair. But it's a matter of the dose is in the poison. It's a matter
Sure.
of how much you allow yourself to be exposed to that. And it is elective, and you may choose by necessity for part of your work or because of other reasons, but it is still absolutely elective. You could, with some effort, enjoy your devices and media and not be exposed to much of that. You'll be aware of it. I put in considerable effort not having that bullshit trickle across my screen by default. And it can be done. And I don't know if it's virtuous or contemptible that I do it, but I'm saying it can be done.
Yeah, that's great, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about your social media consumption, which is a problem. I'm talking about everyone else's, and they're making it your problem. Because,
I got
you know,
you.
maybe
Totally,
what,
absolutely.
maybe when, you know, because as you may or may not know, my pet peeve is when you ask someone how they are, and they go, I'm busy.
Busy.
Fuck off. Maybe they're saying busy because it's better than saying I'm freaking the fuck out because of social media is telling me to freak out, and all my friends are freaking out, all my family are freaking out, and everyone's freaking the fuck out. Which is why I say you should take drugs.
I think you're making just a good argument for activism and local activism and small
Yes.
social groups and discussions.
And
it's what we're
also-
doing right now too,
Yeah,
by the
and
way.
in activism as well. I'm like, sure, absolutely. I am all about people doing, in fact, apparently there's this fantastic new app called 5Call that if you get the app, you stick it on your phone. I've got to make sure I got that right. Yeah, thanks, Jen. Rule number 1, don't freak out. Rule number 2 is don't let other people let you freak out, and don't let their freakouts freak you out. And that's the hard part. That's the really fucking hard part, because if everybody is concerned and worried, worry is a bad word, kids. It's a bad, bad word. If everybody's concerned and worried, that shit is that's going to rub off on you.
Fucking Mr. Rogers said it. Look for the helpers, look where they're moving to, and be with the helpers, you know, like be the helpers.
That's great. And I really believe in Mr. Rogers, but baby, shit's changed. Yeah. And like, I would love to know, what would Mr. Rogers say in this time? Like, what would he say?
Fuck it, peace out. I'm
Yeah,
retiring.
maybe.
Give me my cardigan.
Yeah, let's all wear cardigans. That that's my point, is that maybe in this mad fucking time, there is a really good argument to get on a chair, put all your computers next door, and stare at a wall. Luckily, we have a chair, and it's called a toilet, where you can just stare at a fucking wall for hours if you want. And
Imagine if the internet and social media did not allow conformity and compliance statements to persuade people to be on a side, but instead it only allowed you to post new ideas. It would be really quiet on the internet for a while, and then I think people would start posting a lot.
God, Rob, we really thought it was going to be that, though, 25 years ago, you know?
Right. Instead, it's just regurgitating somebody else said that. It's just repeating information over and over again to make crowds compliant
yeah,
with the narrative. There's no other purpose for it now.
yes, I totally agree. Ivan, I see your hand. And what can you do about it? And everybody's answer is going to be different, and you're not obligated to answer it. What can you do to safeguard yourself? Like, what can you do? Is it a case of you just zone out, you take a breath, you think, you come up with a solution, and you re-enter it? How do you do that? And I guess that's my whole question. And for me, and I think for a lot of us, it's coming down to the importance of music. You know, maybe that's why synthesizers are so fucking great, because it's like I'm putting my headphones on. I'm not on a. So I like hardware. I'm not on the fucking internet. Everything's off, and I'm playing with my fucking XYZ synth from 30 years ago that cost me $300. I got the Kurzweil for $200. It's shame. Well, first Kurzweil I bought was $5,200 fucking dollars. Yeah, when it first came out, fucking extremely good investment. But I digress. That within, maybe we have this magical fucking thing which is in sound and in the ability to warp sound, which I will argue is a multiple dimensional thing. You're pushing beyond 3 dimensions now, and you are now thinking and absorbing in multiple fucking dimensions. Did you notice I had a select hull singing billions and billions of oscillators? And this is fucking magical fucking territory. And we have that power. Because, you know, hey man, I'm all about fucking acid, you know me, but I'm also about TB303s, and I'm also about like the absolute magic that is within sound design and within synthesizers. And you're not just sculpting sound, you're sculpting time and space. You're sculpting reality. You're sculpting imagination and emotion. So maybe the thing is, you have to pull that old piece of shit out, dust it down, maybe drive it down to Alex for the weekend, or maybe you just drag that damn thing out. Because, you know, it's crazy, you know, Rob, you are giving Alex the gift of supreme inspiration, you know? So maybe all of us have to go back and find that synth that supremely inspired us, and find that in the starship of the imagination.
Yeah, he's going to be in a discovery playground again.
Yeah.
Like a kid.
Yeah. Yeah. So there you go. Ivan, your hand's up, and I just ran. I'm going to shut up now. Thank you, Rob.
Though, meditation does have a place. It is good. It can be good. It can be good for you. I survived, got through Liber MMM, did the meditation every freaking day for, ages. And like one of the important, like concepts is like thoughts will you head towards you while you're meditating, like a big old freight train that you've got no control of whatsoever. And the best way to deal with them is just step aside and let them pass, because they will. when you can hit that that no mindy place, you'll lose track of things like time, and it's kind of cool. Um, and like you'll occasionally come out of meditation just feeling fucking refreshed as a result, because you know giving your brain a chance to settle down and catch up for a bit. And then Rob, you made some very good points. Back in the day, I did a lot of flying, like a seriously buttload of flying. And when I was flying, I discovered very quickly that I don't like carrying shit around in the airport or on the plane. So my carry-on luggage was a bag that was roughly enough to hold my big enough to hold my meds and a charger for my phone. And then that was it. Like it would fit in the pocket in the seat in front of me. Game over. With double bonus, I can get the hell off the plane really fast, which is good for me and everybody behind me. Um, so like I've been damn near raw dogging flights for decades as a result. And these are long flights, like cross country kind of big long, Boston to Seattle kind of distances, um, 5-6 hours at a time. And like I would never imagine trying to do it any other way. Like, when I was doing the flights down to DC, like I had to carry a much larger bag as a result. And like the whole time it was just a source of stress. All right.
But now you have synthesizers.
Yes.
Thank you.
And you
Razi.
can take them with you.
Right.
So my flights are a few hours a month-ish, that I get into, and I've got it down to wristwatch, phone, tablet, and laptop, and wireless Bluetooth noise canceling, plus in-ears, and a couple power adapters in case any of those need to be plugged in and the outlet's broken. And that's pretty good. Like I don't end up using them the whole time. And I definitely know where the power off button is on Delta's, different entertainment solutions there, so that my screen there is off. And I don't always pull out the devices, but they're like a bulwark against like what might happen in these 3 hours that I'm stuck in a seat. It's an interesting phenomenon. So I just wanted to ask, you say raw dog in it, and Rob, you didn't. I won't say you were raw dogging your flights, but if you want to explain, do you literally go without electronic devices and without planned media, Ivan, for the 6 hour cross country ones?
Yeah, like my phone's in my pocket,
Okay.
but I'm not messing with it when I'm on the flight because I've got no internet. So like, why bother? Occasionally I will preload an audiobook to listen to on the flight, but like I'm often too lazy to actually accomplish that. So, when the time for the flight comes, I'm stuck just kind of just sitting there.
But you don't. The question comes to creativity in the moment, and I have every single time the laptop is there because Ableton Live is on it. The tablet is there because my guitar amps are on it, and the phone is there because my lyrics are on it, and I don't end up using that time. Occasionally, I can find it creativity, but what's the difference between that captive time and not taking advantage of doing, I don't know, rocking out or whatever? Like I don't habitually make it happen personally. I don't know why.
When I'm flying, I kind of like to just truly, as truly as possible, as close as I can, just live in the moment and just deal with flying. Because, it makes the experience a little better for me. And I'm not saying it's going to be better for everybody, but it helps me. And, like, not going to complain.
That's
like,
very interesting.
I've yet to try like a much longer trip, like, fly to somewhere in Southeast Asia or Europe or something. I haven't done that. So, will that change the equation?
So
I don't know.
It makes me feel accountable for lost time with my family. So if I'm not productive and I'm bored, which is bad, and then I'm lazy, then I set myself up to plan to do stuff. So I'm either going to get through some podcast that's educational for me, or I'm going to use this tool on my tablet called Hexen, which is modular, and you can Bluetooth your headphones and create for hours. And it's so easy to do that. You can be creative and productive because you're held to a single seat and you can't move. It's an opportunity actually to lock in some of that time and say, I know that I'm probably going to sleep for maybe 5 or 6 hours in like 3 hour blocks. But in between there, I'm going to hold myself accountable to creating something. And it might be
That
writing or it
that's
could be
brilliant.
music. And I
I'm
try
making
to
an
do,
appointment with myself to do that next time I'm on, in a plane seat to make sure that there
yeah,
is a component of creativity and
yeah.
attention to the work.
That's a very interesting concept. Thank you all very much, because you're talking about this, and I'm thinking about Tyler Durden. Now, as I pass to give you the ass of the crack, of the crutch. Anyway, it's interesting that you know the plane is going to land at a certain time, so you have X hours to do stuff. So if you go onto a plane with a list of things to do in order, and you force yourself to do it, the trick is don't drink. Because if you drink, you ain't gonna do them. Or at least I am. I won't. That's interesting. Because like I have a similar thing every day when I'm catching a bus, but I can't always. I might not have a seat or something to be able to do stuff. But I do try and listen to lyrics. That's one interesting thing about like being on a bus as opposed to being on a plane. Besides everything, is that on a bus there's more. You can feel people's thoughts. On a plane, you can't. On a plane, it feels more. It's very tranquil and very focused. And the thing about listening to other people's thoughts is that is a great time to write lyrics, because you've got all these little bits of words that are going on. That the person over this, although interestingly, in the last few years, the inspiration that I gain from trains and buses is less, because everyone's on their fucking phone. See, once upon a time, you'd look at them and they were thinking something, or they're talking to someone or something. Now they don't. Now they're on their phone, and there's nothing coming off this. There's no radiation of energy that I can just sort of like sit in there and borrow that energy a bit and write about their life story. There's some dude looking at cat videos. Anyway, there you go. Does anybody else want to talk about anything else right now?
Just that the promise of having a portable device that can run my sequencer started, I think, maybe 2003, and I'm still chasing a moment where I really sit down and get something written on a plane, on a bus, in transit or something. There's something about the act of transportation that really, or even just portability. It does not yet put me in a very, well, not for music anyway. I've done other things, but anyway, it's a weird condition.
That's a good condition. Ivan, what do you think about making music?
Um, I'm like portably making music. I've got the stuff on my phone. I just never touch it because like the UI usually just kind of gets in the way, and it's kind of a pain in the ass, and that ruins it for me. What I will bring is a life with me though, and just record my surroundings, and then that'll get converted to a some sort of weird lifey beat later on, which is that's that's actually kind of fun. I enjoy that. I used to ride the bus in Seattle a lot to get downtown from Renton Highlands, and like that was like a freaking tomb. Except there'd be a bunch of like middle-aged Asian aunties like sitting on the bus, just like out, just like they read this like the weirdest animes. They were very into the boy on boy thing. I like into. It was, yeah, hats off to them for, like just sitting there reading it.
Um,
Uh, and there was yeah, I think that was pretty much.
Thank you. I seem to be on a Tyler Durden bender now. Thanks. So you're handing out your homework, your tasks after Fight Club, and we need some Fight Club. You know how there's always the weird guy on the bus? This week, you will become the weird guy on the bus. Become the weird guy on the bus. And even if you don't do anything or say anything and you just sit there behaving, imagine yourself being the weird guy on the bus. And when you do this, you might find yourself starting to laugh. Therefore, you become the weird guy on the bus who's just laughing. And also exercising the concept we've been talking about as far as boredom goes is going, I'm not going to look at my phone on the bus. I am, or the train. I am just going to be here in this moment and just look at these humans that I am one of, apparently. The other thing is I love taking pen and paper. Because the great thing about a train, there's rhythms everywhere. And just writing those rhythms down, it's a wonderful thing. I'll shut up now. Rob, I need you to give me your wisdom.
So the strange thing about making music on a plane is you're inspired by what happens around you, right? So if there's turbulence, then you get frightened, and that impacts the music afterwards. Or if you have a bourbon, it does impact the music afterwards. And if you're sitting next to somebody who thinks you're weird, that also impacts the way that you make the music. And I have lots of apps on my phone that I use to record music and make music. I have Adamoog, which totally recommend it. It's a sensational Moog software application on the phone. And I use a tracker, which is basically a DAW. It's a mini DAW. And I can dump everything from one app into that and sequence it all. And about the mood on a plane, I was convinced on one trip that they would constantly try to feed me to put me into a food coma. And I was convinced that there was some conspiracy about why they try to sedate passengers on the flight. And it's probably because the stewardesses just want to stop helping everyone and go into the galley and just chat and take a break. But it always seems like they're constantly feeding you. And I get fat and fat and fatter on flights. And I think it's that actually inspired me to write a song about being on an airplane in those conditions. And I'm just going to drop the link into Carl's Messenger because I can't get to it from my laptop. But it's just on my Patreon. But you'll see that my anguish and my frustration of flying long hours, it's in Messenger, Carl, translated into a very, very crazy video clip that I did a long time ago. Apologize for the bad mix on it, but I made that within an hour of landing. And I was privileged to have a friend of mine help me with recording it as soon as I landed. So take a look at that video. It's kind of whack. If you found it.
I've put that into the close link and also for everyone there. Good stuff.
That's inspiration from an aircraft.
Fantastic. Oh yeah. Thank you.
Can I just quickly second Adamoog is a pretty good jamming device to have at the ready. It kind of lends itself toward, like it's basically a slidey synth, like Buchla style, but with a delay, and that delay being part of the engine makes it so that you have sort of like playing with yourself kind of melody things that come back. It just happens to work out as a good pastime. Plus, it's a fidget toy with all the things flying around the screen. And when you want to impress your seatmates with that you're doing something extremely active and neat, you could just sort of make sure that the little fireflies that whiz around the screen are doing their job. Also, it's fun. That's one way of saying it.
Thank you. Also, Moog's having a software sale, if anyone cares. Yeah, they're having a whole bunch of their software is massively reduced. So if you want to get an Animoog, you should get one now from Moog Music. Also, I will say, Alex is on a train right now in Germany. So, Alex, everybody wants you to become the crazy guy on the train and video yourself while you're doing it. Become the crazy guy now, Alex. Become the crazy guy now. Did we have anything else we wanted to talk about? Animoog, Hex, and... Oh, thank you, Rob.
Animoog on a tablet is a pretty good instrument, like actually pretty playable, because it quantizes the pitches even though it's a slidey keyboard. Like, I don't know, the phone might be a little restricting, but if you're just
no, it works well.
Yeah, you can stretch
well
the
on
keyboard to
phone.
be
I use it on
whatever
my
range you
iPhone.
want and whatever scale you want, so it does adapt nicely to a touchscreen situation.
Yeah, I've recorded different instruments from Animoog just via 3.5 millimeter into my little mini mixer, my little Zoom recorder. I took that on a flight with me, and I recorded everything into the Zoom R15, R16, wherever it was, and in my backpack, I also took a Roland SEO2 and plugged that into my. I had a small keyboard for that as well. It's surprising how much stuff you can actually fit in a carry-on backpack. And I once stopped in Schiphol Airport in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam, and I had a layover there for like 7 hours. And I found an area of the lounge and set up my entire studio there, and just started improvising and jamming. And I had apps on tablets and phones all plugged in. The only thing I wasn't doing was vocals, because that would piss everybody off. Maybe I
we're
should have
supposed to
been
do
that,
that. Carl has
guy
told
on
us
the
we
train.
have to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Be that guy in the
No,
lounge.
I did that. I did that in the hotel room. But
Fortunately, many of the lounges do have those ISO booths for business douches to do their FaceTime meetings. You
Oh
can
my
get in there
God.
and cut vocals.
Oh God. No, you got this wrong. You go to the bar and you do the vocals in a bar. That's what you do. And you have to have your headphones like this while you're doing it.
and all the crowd is in the background.
Going, who is this guy? But maybe they'll like it. You don't know. I don't care, because this is happening in my mind and it's great.
There's a lot to be said for being the crazy guy on the bus or mass transit.
What about that? Yeah, what about that crazy guy that goes into the subway and promotes his Kickstarter in amongst crowds? What a lunatic that guy was.
Yeah. All over the place. Crazy guy.
I used to take the Amtrak to and from Chicago nearly every day. And on a return trip from Chicago one hot summer day, there was this like 12-year-old on the train who was having such a meltdown about leaving Chicago that I hit record on my phone and then, shipped a copy of it, up to Milwaukee to my wife, who was wondering who was being murdered on the train.
Good fun.
His meltdown, it was great. And as for truly crazy guy on mass transit, there was a guy that would get on the bus in Seattle at one point, who was crawling. Not him. Everything about him was crawling. Bugs were falling off of him. He looked like like he came, like he was an extra for Prince of Darkness. And he decided to sit down right next to me. And so I moved. And so he came and sat down right next to me again. And he kept doing that. When I finally got off the bus, I kind of had to fake him out to get off the bus and have him not follow me. He was...
That's intense, and I'm sorry you experienced that. Ivan, Razi, talk to me.
Yeah, just simply I'm committing to trying out the entire page of apps on the tablet that I haven't touched since I downloaded them, or roughly 3 weeks after that, one at a time, not necessarily more than one, but just go through all of them. Next time I'm sitting on the plane, considering which show that I dutifully stashed to watch, and, hit pause and just go through them and see what I'm missing and see if there's anything that sparks anything. It's a really pretty simple step. But I don't know. I like the idea of this. If there's anything like fending off boredom methods, it's the passive consumption of media versus the creativity kind of question that's still resonating here. And it's a small thing to do, but I've got them. I mean, maybe they've fallen off the tablet and they're not actually on there, so I could probably prep by at least tapping them once and making sure they're downloaded. But I'm gonna do that.
It's very interesting how I do get a feeling of boredom, and that is when before I make music, where my brain just goes blank screen, and the motivation is what gets you through that. That thing you experienced, Ivan. There's a story in there, and there's a story leading up. There's a prequel of leading up. I bet you that guy was a vet. I bet you anything he did time in Iraq.
At his age, probably Vietnam. But yeah, like no ifs, ands, or buts on that. And then I wonder if like the like the algorithms try to keep us from being bored passively. Like we're just consuming other media the whole time. What the algorithms don't really like is us alleviating boredom by actually creating things, actually, doing something, actually thinking about what's going on and using our minds, because that's dangerous to the algorithms.
Well, yeah, I mean, it all harps back to the idea of cake and circus, which is the Roman idea of, keep them fed on a plane, fed, or sitting here eating their Tim Tams, and entertained. And yeah, and I guess it's really interesting that there are walls placed around us to stop us from thinking. That all of them drugs that make you think and make you open your mind are now illegal, and if you take them, you get locked away for your whole life, because that's the penalty of thinking. It's not the drugs they're worried about; it's you thinking is what they're worried about. Yeah, this is why we make music and we celebrate making music. And Tom is in a train. Tom, you better be singing opera in that train, I swear to God. Yeah, that this is freedom that we have. Oh, freedom. That's become a four-letter word, isn't it? In music, for us to verbalize about things. Anyway, does anybody want to talk about music and the art of rock and the creative process therein? Or should we bugger on over to MTV TV? Freedom. Brett, that's very good. That's very good, Brett. You need to. That's very good. I would like to say that
I do.
Hold on. I just need to do a legal thing. At 10:44 a.m. on the June the 7th, I am stealing Brett's idea, freedom. I'm stealing that, Brett. It's herefore thefted. That's a great idea. You need to do something. That is very good. I've never seen that before. That's very good. Ivan, what did you want to?
Yeah, there's more people here today, so I'm going to re-ask the question. When you're building new music, what does the process look like? Because I've gotten very into, because I use Ableton for everything, very into, writing each short piece and then arranging those together. So like I can, bounce back and forth between, parts that I have written and assemble a full song. And, what does other approaches look like? What is this a bad idea? Is it a good idea? I don't know. Because it does seem to be working for me.
Razi, go.
First, the haha answer, which is the sad truth, and that is absolutely 100% pick a new DAW to learn how to use because I have an inspiration to like work on something long term. Then update all of the plugins that are a little outdated and try to figure out what changed between the revisions, and then maybe figure out which bass needs new strings, and you get my drift. It really goes that way. Like, it's cool, studio maintenance and doing all those things because it does need to be done. And on the other side of that, maybe your slate is laid out for you, your work is cut out for you, your slate is clean and tabula rasa, you have something to start with and get past those distractions. But it really hits me. Like, anytime I get past the boredom moment and decide that there's creativity to be done, I definitely am in that susceptible moment to running down the rat hole of software updates and instrument repairs and stuff. It's crazy. But a more earnest answer, there is no wrong answer to it, fortunately. And oftentimes, riff collecting, to put it a little bit crassly, is a first step. Patch noodling, but the two processes are, okay, I've got a guitar tone that I now am thinking of. I've done this a few times on the next album right now that I have an idea for, trying to find the direction. The riff collecting with a tone, 5 songs, 6 songs, drum pattern, bass pattern, guitar pattern, short piece. Next one. Synth noodling collecting. I've got a synth that I want to concentrate on, knob tweaking, recording long portions of that stuff. Long, a minute, 5 minutes, not 30 minutes, but collecting those things, annotating them, putting them aside. Next project, vocal ideas, covering other people's tunes, collecting those. And this is a bit of navel gazing and not getting the fuck to the point and getting the right to the work. But it does seem like, since you're asking about like steps toward rather than the actual process of, now I've got blocks that I can go back, look at some of the real historical shit that I've collected also, but look at the recent work on how I decided to do, look at the thing I taped to my wall that's the rules about what I'm doing, see how they all fit together, and start moving them around on a timeline, assessing whether I've got something here that I'm excited about. And then that feeds on itself and it's got its own momentum. And I realize where I want to put the effort and where I want to get swept away a little bit. Like, not a foolproof method, but it is something that I kind of go to after the software updates and shit. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've been discovering that this way of doing things kind of turns me into a librarian. In that,
There you
like,
go.
everything needs to be well labeled, so I can find what I'm doing and where it goes, and then just snap it onto the the longer view, and it really works nicely for melodic parts. Like laying down a bass line of drums, that'll get a little bit, just I hate to say it, but boring to just drive through the length of the song, making sure that the bass is all in the right place.
I love it. Rob, what are your thoughts?
4 words. What goes with this? Lots of experimentation and lots of lyric writing against a concept that drives the meaning for all the songs, and experimenting with different instruments. A DAW is an instrument. Complete is an instrument. It's a computer that you use to try stuff out. The fact that you're drawing notes on a screen or playing a keyboard, it's still just the same instrument. If I pick up the bass guitar or get on the drum kit, those are different instruments. And so if I put something down, there might be some divine inspiration, and that might sound a bit freaky, but if I've written lyrics, I may not have a tune or a melody or a lick that goes with those lyrics for months. And then all of a sudden I get this divine inspiration that, oh, I now know how I can make that song sound. And I do have to tweak the lyrics because they're not going to fit in that stuff exactly the way that I thought originally. But now I know exactly what to do with that. And it means me humming into my iPhone to record the melody. And then I go home and I play that melody hum, and I put down just a couple of bars of drums. And then I pick up the bass and I go, what goes with this? And I play a few different methods of that. And it's improv. It's the way that I learnt to play with a band when I was young, dumb, and full of everything else. You know, and I didn't have the lyrics back then. My cousin had a big book full of dark lyrics. And so somebody would start playing a lead guitar riff, somebody would chime in with the drum, with the bass. I was on bass or keyboards. I would then pick up his lyric book and I would go through and feel, what does this song feel like? And I'd read the lyrics, the first 2 lines of each song, and I would find the lyrics that matched that feeling. And then I would start singing and the band would react to my take. And we would kind of look at each other to work out how we were going to change the song in real time. And those improv sessions were all recorded to stereo VHS tape because they would run for 180 minutes. And we would probably do 2 takes of that one song and we're done. And it was surprising how synchronized we would be together as a group to come up with that actual song. And it was amazing because we basically had set ourselves 3 days on a long weekend to write an album. And we ended up with an album of stuff from just improv. And to Raz's point, you really do have to collect snippets and start piecing them together. And it may not be exactly the same way as you first played it, but you eventually find where that goodness is. And that just happens to be the way that I create. It's probably completely different for other people.
I happen to like building on stuff, you know, like accumulating cruft in there. I don't know if that's exactly what you're talking about, Rob, but you know, like the original concept is in its own file. I open that file and I keep adding stuff to it, and
Yeah.
you know, like sometimes the original idea stays in there, sometimes it gets muted. But Carl, I jumped in while you were still muted there, but
That's okay. Yeah, thanks. Computers crash, freezing a bit. My issue is keeping away from when you mix paint together, it becomes this browny purpley color, and it's very unattractive. And I don't like a song, it's usually because it's browny purple. It's very brown. And when you start pulling stuff out, you can see the reds more and you can see the blues more. And the more you pull out, the more stark and amazing those colors become. Because when you mix a bunch of colors and a bunch of ideas together, it becomes brown. And I don't think brown's good. I'm sure there's an argument for brown, but I just don't like
did
brown.
you ever see the Technology Connections piece on brown video essay technological thing?
No.
I'll link it. Hi Josie. It's fascinating.
What happens when you mix red wine and butter chicken? What color does it become, Carl?
Brown.
But was it tasty going in?
It was tasty going in because you were eating them separately. It was red wine, port, then butter chicken. Although with butter chicken, I'd be having a white, but I'm a wanker. But no, I would actually be eating port. So yeah, it's about separating the butter chicken. And you know, butter chicken is red. It's a deep red color, and that's the thing with cooking as well. Is if you want to get it right, the colors pop. Yeah, there it is again. All goes back to cooking and butter chicken. Does anybody else want to rescue this because Carl and Rob are in the house. Or should we raid to the illustrious MTV TV? That's right. Okay. So, hopefully my computer won't crash and go magic and fuckery land. Thank you very much for being a part of this. We're here every Saturday. No, they're not beautiful shades of brown, Alex. They're all awful. Because brown is bleh. Join us at MTV TV. I mean, at Angelspit's Twitch. That's where we are every week. Thank you, Angelspit Patreon members. You can join for $3 a month or join as a free member. And you get lots of crap that we go on and on with. Angelspit's new album is kickstarting now. You'll get to see me being a crazy guy on a train. Go back it. You will like it. I promise you, you'll like it. Industrial Incisions playlist is a whole bunch of bands that you need to know about. Go fucking like it, for fuck's sake. On Wednesday nights, Vulture Culture talks about synthesizers and shit, and it's great. And we drink. Fuck you. And there's a t-shirt that I'm wearing right now, the link to that t-shirt, to celebrate how much we drink and love synthesizers. Because god damn it. Razi, thank you again, always, for being amazing.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having us here.
You're incredible, and bless you. We're going to raid on over to MTV TV now. If you're not on the Twitch, that's the link. So Diana, if you could start the magical raid, that would be absolutely magical. Then we're all going to stand back here and fucking, I don't know, talk and shit, which we usually do. I've actually got butter chicken for lunch. I made butter chicken the other day. I grew tomatoes. That's what I wanted to say about depression and shit. Dirt Therapy, which is a great name for an album, although the Prodigy did Dirt Chamber. The Dirt Chamber Sessions. Fucking great album, that one. Very dark, very twisted, very fucked up. They had no idea what the fuck they were doing, but it was a great album. Yeah, man, I'm growing tomatoes like a boss. And I replanted like a whole bunch of my spider plants. I had so many fucking spider plants. So yeah, tomatoes coming. I'll put them in my fucking butter chicken. I'll eat those bitches raw.
You'll have your single serving of tomatoes and your single serving, you know, the Taylor Durham single serving of everything with his IKEA universe.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to watch that again.
It hasn't lost its sting. Let me tell you. And it's interesting that every time you watch it, it's like, wow, there's so much new stuff that you can project and pull onto this. Brett, your mic's on, which means Brett's going to say something crazy.
I was going to say, Dirt Therapy kind of sounds like what you do with the bodies.
Yeah. Have we
His
rated
name.
yet?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
His name was it Derek Paulson? What was his name?
John Paulson, his name.
John.
Robert Paulson.
Robert Paulson.